Hey, it's Jane. Last video I did, the audio seemed really low. So I'm going to try and talk up a little bit. And yes, I'm moving the camera around because I am so professional. I don't know what the hell I'm doing most of the time. So, in fact, I don't even know. Is that too low? I think that might be aimed too low. Yes, professionalism at its best. Okay, I think that's probably good. And if it isn't, I'll just redo the whole damn thing. Um, so yeah, I'm like wearing my regular clothes now. Like no pads, nothing. Um, I do like there is a little bit of discharge. I could wear a pad if I wanted to, but I mean, I can make it through. Like the little bit of discharge I have, whatever. I mean, I can do laundry. It's not a big deal. It's not worth the hassle of putting pads on, and they're not comfortable anyways. They're more for going out, I think. Um, but yeah, wow. I'm like in my regular clothes, which of course is an old boys t-shirt. Um, old jeans with uh painting stains on them, you know. This is basically the real me. But it's great. I'm sitting up. Not all chairs are comfortable. Like regular chairs, like anything wooden or any like a dining room chair, is still too hard. Anything that's got a lot of cushion to it is fine. Um, and my office chair is fine because I can adjust the cushioniness of it. So yeah, um, I'm starting to. God, I don't know. You know what? Fuck it. I'm not going to feel embarrassed by this because I moved in and there was so much work to be done around the house that I never had any time to do any proper unpacking, and I've just been like living out of boxes, and it's an absolute shit show up here. And you know what? I'm not going to be embarrassed by that. So eventually this room is going to look really nice like my bedroom looked in my last place, but right now this is what it looks like. Oh man, it is just a fucking disaster. So there's my work computer over there. My office desk, my office chair is still in the back room. I haven't brought it out yet. Um, this is my just kind of my personal computer. Yeah, yeah, complete goddamn disaster. And I need to. This is just a junk. Is that wrong again? Uh, yeah, I don't know. I don't know. Uh, Anyways, as you can see, it's a complete disaster. I need to build more shelving for clothes and then put my clothes away. And then once the clothes are away, then I can start emptying some other boxes. And the back room is a disaster and it needs to be reorganized so that it can be storage so I can get half of the shit that's in here out of here. Oh my god. And it feels so overwhelming too, right? Even though I'm getting my energy back, like I'm, still a little tired during the day sometimes, but I'm really getting my energy back, so I'll be able to do more, but still fix this. I don't know. But yeah. Yeah. I'm just wearing regular old clothes now, which is fantastic. And tomorrow's January 1. So tomorrow I'm going to officially go down to dilating 3 times a day, because I don't really think I need to do it. I've done it 3 times a day in the last week. I've done it 3 times a day a couple of days. I've done it 4 times a day the rest of the days. Didn't seem to make any difference whether I did it 3 times or 4 times. So, and my official date for switching over, I believe, is the 4th of January. But fuck it, tomorrow I'm just going to switch to 3 times a day. And partially because now that there's zero discomfort with dilating, like literally zero discomfort, even with the giant 41 millimeter dilator, it's filling but not in any way uncomfortable. I can now do. So before the last one I said I was doing 10 minutes on the 35 just to kind of get things warmed up, 10 minutes on the 41 to kind of stretch things out, and then 10 minutes on the 35 to do the extra stretching inwards, right? Well, I've switched that up to 15 and 15 and 15. I'm not doing that 4 times a day, but I will start doing that 3 times a day tomorrow, because I can do 15 minutes on the 35, 15 minutes on the 41, and then another 15 minutes on the 35, pushing in as far as it'll go. Totally comfortable, no discomfort afterwards, no sense of like it was a workout or anything afterwards. It's just like nothing, totally fine. So I think 3 sessions of 45 minutes is going to be a good baseline going forward. I don't really see any point in going longer than that. And shorter doesn't seem to make any sense to me either. So, yeah. And it seems like things are changing really, happening really quickly now, and which I think they are. Because, like, once the last of the discomfort is gone, and once the cavity is really used to the dilating process, like there's really no barriers at that point, right? Like there's nothing that gets in your head and says, oh fuck, I gotta do this. No, it's like I look forward to it. I'm looking forward to dilating because I feel like it's accomplishing something, it's an exercise now. It's not just post-operative care. It's an actual exercise. And as much as I don't exercise as much as I should, I do like exercise. So yeah, super positive, super great. Everything is just like amazing, and I'm really happy. A lot of gender euphoria now, especially when I see myself in my clothes, because although I totally look fine before, because like, if you've had an orchiectomy and then years and years and years and years go by and everything shrinks as it does, tucking is not an issue, and you can't tell at all from the outside standpoint, but you can tell yourself, you can feel that you're tucking, right? So this is like, poof, like everything fits perfectly, of course, as it should, right? Because it's now all the correct anatomy. But I'm so stoked to be back in my regular clothes again. I was so sick and tired of being naked from the waist down all the time. So yeah, this is yay, very happy. And that's about it for all of that stuff. It's just everything's good, everything's clean, everything's happy and pink and all great. And I was talking with friends on Blue Sky, and it kind of got me thinking, because again, I'm now experiencing, okay, it's not perfect, right? Nerves are still knitting together. So Like my suture lines are itchy all the time, right? And some of the skin is like 2/3 numb, um, and my clitoral structure still feels burny at multiple times during the day. So like, there's still a lot of nerve stuff going on. So it's like I'm not, I'm not out of the woods yet, and things aren't perfect, but they're just like so much better than they were even a week ago that I just feel this massive, you know, sense of gender euphoria now that I really haven't felt since I started hormones, which is, I mean, in retrospect, it makes sense that I would feel this, but it has come to me as a surprise, and it's a damn good surprise. It's a it's a fucking great surprise, to be honest. Um, and I've been talking with my friends, and yeah, I don't know. It's all cool stuff. And I'm sure I went into history early on, like maybe in like the very first video or something like that. Probably, I'm pretty sure I did, like just to kind of set up the history of how I got here. But I can't remember anything I said, and you probably haven't watched the video anyways. So I can repeat myself, because that's the short term attention span of YouTube. I can repeat myself every every other month, I guess. um, um, so I was born in 1970. So you can imagine, I didn't even have internet access until I was into my second year of computer engineering technology college in the middle of the 90s, right? Like, I didn't even have a computer before that. Um, so, I grew up in that traditional pre-internet world where you got all your information from newspapers and television, and not so much radio, because I was never a big radio listener. I mostly listened to LPs and tapes, and but I got most of my information from newspapers and television. And then if I wanted to dive deep into something, I'd go to the reference library downtown and start digging through the books, right? And so my very first exposure to what being trans was when I was 15. It was a newspaper article in the Toronto Sun. Um, and I read newspapers when I was a teenager, so I was a fairly big newspaper reader because I kind of liked staying on top of what was going on in the world. Um, so I come across this newspaper article about this girl who's transitioning. This trans girl is transitioning at the gender clinic at Clark Institute, which predates CAMH, which is the mental health organization for Ontario today. Back then they were called the Clark Institute. And that gender clinic was just like, it was more toxic than the shit we hear coming out of England these days. Not like, I mean, there's some pretty toxic shit coming out of the NHS and out of the government in the UK right now. Some pretty toxic shit. But even in the 80s, it was even worse, because the social stigma around being trans, I, I mean, nobody even knew what trans was. Like, you could walk up to any stranger on the street and says, "Do you know what being transgendered is, or what a transsexual is?" Like, weren't even calling ourselves transgendered back then. Is you could walk up to anybody on the street and say, "Do you know what a transsexual is?" and and you're guaranteed every single person you go to would say, "No idea what you're talking about," right? Because I didn't even hear the term until I was 15, reading that first newspaper article. From that point forward, I instantly saw myself in that girl's story, in her telling her experience. And she was in her later teens. So I was 15, and I think she was like 18 or 19 or something like that. But, she's telling her story, and I'm like, holy shit, that's me. That's how I feel. That's how I have felt for as long as I can remember feeling about, like, my gender identity, like at least since puberty, that I'd been analyzing the nature of my gender identity. Um, so from that point forward, I would scour every single newspaper looking for articles about trans people. And boy, were there so few. Like, I think over the course of the next 5 years, I probably found a total of 4 articles altogether, you know? Um, but I also, went to the reference library and, read what books were available, which not great, not great selection. I have one of them actually. There's one reference, uh, um, it's kind of a general purpose medical reference book that was originally produced in the late 60s and was updated periodically. So I no longer have the edition I bought in, I don't know, how old was I? I think I was like 19, so 89 I think is when I bought it. Um I don't have it anymore. It's gone, but I have since found another copy that was older, like from the 70s. So it was the same content, it's just it was a little more outdated than what I had in the copy I had bought in 89. But it was literally my only exposure to um, trans stuff from a medical perspective. And then newspaper articles about the gender clinic at the Clark Institute, and that were basically horror stories, right? Basically, people, like, if you wouldn't go to the newspaper with your story about being trans and being a client of the gender clinic at the Clark Institute if you weren't getting fucked around, right? So even that first one, the when I was 15, the girl who was a patient there, she was going on explaining about the challenges of, justifying your existence as trans to these people. And I didn't know it at the time because I barely understood any of this stuff to begin with. But between, reading medical books in the library and these negative newspaper articles, and of course anything you would see on TV would be derogatory, right? Because the only thing you'd ever see on television would be humor based, and it would be incredibly derogatory, like very homophobic and transphobic stuff today, by today's standards, right? Um, and everything I read, everything I read said, if you change gender, you basically forcing yourself into a life of living as a second class citizen, because you can't get decent employment, because who's going to hire you, and everyone's going to think you're a freak, and this is shit coming from like the gender clinic in the city I live in. This isn't just like stuff coming from the States or whatever. This is like homegrown transphobia, right? So thirsty. So I didn't realize it at the time, but I was experiencing what I would now describe as severe internalized transphobia. Like over the course of the 20 years from when I was 15 to when I was 35 and got my orchiectomy and then went on to hormones after. In that 20-year period, I went through cycle after cycle after cycle of buying women's clothing, dressing up at home alone, right? Never going out, wishing desperately that I could be female. Not that I could transition or anything like that, that I could be female. And then, you know, feeling shit about that and then getting angry and throwing everything out and saying, fuck this shit. This is not, I can't do it. It's not possible. I physically cannot change gender because of all of these reasons that I have heard through the grapevine, read in medical journal or medical texts, heard in newspaper articles, and just decided for myself about my own anatomy. Stupid shit like my hands are too big, my feet are too big, I'm too tall. Like I was 6'1" back then. I'm 6 foot now because I'm 54. I'm 6'1". I'm like, I can't do this. I can't be female. It can't work. What the fuck am I doing? And, I'd go through these cycles, right? I'd get rid of everything, say, no, come on, toe the line, just get on with your life. And then the gender dysphoria would creep up on me more and more and more. And I knew it was gender dysphoria because I had that very clear description of what gender dysphoria was as early as 85, and then doing my research afterwards as well, right? So I knew I was dealing with gender dysphoria. I knew that in a perfect world, I would change gender, but I just didn't see a perfect world around me. I saw a world that couldn't accept me because that's what I was conditioned to believe. Was it true? I don't know. I mean, would things have been more difficult for me? Probably. I mean, being being a white male gives you certain privileges, particularly back then, but just as much today, I guess. Being a white male gives you certain privileges, right? And so giving up that privilege, I guess, would have some kind of negative impact, but how much, right? I could still have gone to school to do computer engineering technology as an adult student, like I did. I could still have done that. Um, you know, would I have made as much money out of the gate? Uh, Probably not. Women still earn less than men in business IT. So being trans in the 90s, late 90s, going into business IT, it would have been tougher to get jobs, but it wouldn't have been impossible. Certainly, have had I changed gender at a younger age, I would definitely have passed more, probably to the point where I wouldn't even identify as trans. I would probably be stealth. So I probably would have had not that much difficulty getting employment, and maybe making a little less money, but so what? I made tons of money anyways. A little less was just still a lot of money. Um, so, but then you're second guessing, right? Going, oh, what if, if I'd done this and I'd done that. But anyways, my point is, I didn't. I didn't. I didn't. I held off for 20 years. I fought it tooth and nail for 20 years because I had this ingrained transphobia. And after I finally caved and just couldn't take it anymore and changed gender, even then, I didn't want to be around other trans people. For years, literally years after transition, I didn't want to be around other trans people. I mean, I lived in the Church and Wellesley neighborhood of Toronto. Anybody who knows Toronto knows that that's the gayborhood, right? Church Street is the gayborhood. And I lived a couple blocks away, and I hung out at the local lesbian bar on Saturday nights, and I was part of the community, the greater community, basically from day one. Well, not from day one, but within like within 2 years of starting hormones, I was in that community. And but yeah, I did not want to have anything to do with other trans people. I didn't. If I saw another trans person in the same bar as me, I would be like, okay, how far away from this person can I get without it being obvious? And I didn't realize it, right? Because I just saw these other trans people, and they just reminded me of how not a cis woman I was. And that's the gender. That's the internalized transphobia. And when I finally cottoned on to that fact, when I finally realized that I really was experiencing transphobia, even though I was living as trans, I kind of felt a little bit embarrassed, to be honest with you, because now looking back, it's like, why wouldn't I be proud to be trans? So for years I fought it, but now I'm like, yeah, fuck, I'm totally super stoked to be trans. I wouldn't want to be a cis female. I think being trans is so much better. You get the opportunity of experiencing life in two different genders. If you're non-binary, you may even go back and forth before you settle somewhere wherever you're comfortable. Like, being gender variant is so much better than being gender hetero, because you get to see the world through different eyes, you know? Yeah. Yeah, lost years. Really shitty. Really shitty. Internalized gender dysphoria just fucking sucks. And I've met some trans people who are struggling with it, and it's sad to see. It is sad to see, because I know what it feels like, and you can't really say anything, because it's like, I do understand where they're coming from. I do understand why it's not simple to get rid of. It's something you kind of have to come to a conclusion on your own. That, hey, this isn't right, and then you can move forward. But today, December 31st, New Year's Eve, I'm not staying up. I'm going to go to bed at a decent time. Yeah, I have just got so much gender euphoria today. I feel fucking fantastic. Um, ah, it's great. It's great. And I want all the nerves to just get all sorted out and fixed and going and doing what they're doing, and the last bit of swelling to work. I know it's going to take a few months. I know it takes months to really level out, but now I'm just like, I'm raring to go, because when the time comes, when I feel like I'm ready physically, because I'm already there, Emotionally, I'm already there. I'm so looking forward to dating again. It's been so long, and I want to date again. You know, I yeah, looking forward to it. Kind of raring to go. Now just waiting on the nerves to sort themselves out and the last of the swelling to go down. And a little bit at the bottom. It's still not quite closed, but it's definitely getting there. I don't drink enough. I don't. I really don't get enough fluids. Ah, yeah. This is kind of impromptu. I didn't really. I just literally on a whim. I said, "Hey, you know what? I feel like making a video." So that's why I'm kind of rambling. Um, I haven't started coding yet because I showed you the room. I have to. I have to get my desk going, and I've got to install the latest version of, well, fuck. I want to put FreeBSD on, but it's such a pain in the ass because the broker I'm working with, their software is Java based, and the launcher for it is written in a bash script, and it's all organized for Linux. It's not set up to run on FreeBSD. So basically, for me to run their jar file on FreeBSD, I have to completely rewrite their loader script, which is, it's got to be, I don't know, 6 or 8 thousand lines um, of bash script code, and I've looked through it, and it looks like a goddamn disaster. And I'm 100% sure that 90% of it I have absolutely no use for. So, ideally, I would install FreeBSD on that workstation, and then I would write my own loader in Python to load the jar file into JRE, but um, I need to get coding fast, and I really don't want to screw around. So, as much as I hate doing this, I'm just gonna throw the latest version of Mint on that machine because I'm kind of way behind on versions. I'm just going to throw the latest version of Mint on that machine, um, just so that I can get coding against their API as fast as possible. And then later on, I will actually move, because the way I'm designing the software is I'm working on the assumption that at some point in the near future, I'm going to be talking to multiple brokers, um, because I'm with Interactive Brokers, and they don't let you go long and short on the same stock at the same time. Um, so for me to be able to hedge a stock, I need two brokers, one to go long on and one to go short on. So given that I'm going to need a minimum of two brokers and potentially even more if I break out into different markets, I could be dealing with multiple brokers. It makes sense for me, instead of having the core software understanding the API for Interactive Brokers, separate that, make my own gateway that knows about all of the APIs for all of the brokers, and then normalizes an interface that my core system can talk to, right? Um, so when I get to the point where I'm ready to have the my custom gateway um, be separate from the core trading code, then I can move it onto a Linux. Like literally, I can put it on, like a really pared down um, uh, Arch or something like that. Alpine, maybe Alpine. Actually, probably Alpine. I like Alpine. Um, and then that will run the gateway, and then my core system will run on FreeBSD. So yeah, I'm gonna do the operating system split later on. So for now, I'm just gonna put the latest Mint on that machine just for simplicity's sake, so that I can get coding, and I will get coding. Also, not something I was planning on talking about, but just popped off the top of my head. Um. Anyways, Happy New Year. I hope everyone is having a great New Year's. I hope everyone's out partying and having a great time. I'm keeping it low because I am still healing, and I really don't, need to be running myself into the ground. But hey, maybe next New Year's will be a big New Year's. Who knows? Maybe I'll actually have some money from trading come next New Year's, and I can enjoy it. Guess that's about it. Yeah, there you go. An impromptu video about nothing in particular. Update, whatever. So I love y'all, and Happy New Year, and I hope everybody has a great beginning to 2025. And I'll speak to you in the new year. Bye.